There's no greater breeding ground for hypocrisy than our college campuses. Everybody from presidents down to faculty down to students engage in hypocrisy at its finest. And the treatment of Kyle Rittenhouse reveals yet another example where college people can't seem to get their arguments straightened out. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
Okay, so Kyle Rittenhouse decides to enroll in Arizona State University's online program. Now you may be wondering, why Arizona State? Well, Arizona State's online program has a massive marketing plan. They push out a ton of marketing material to prospective students all over the country. It's almost impossible for a student graduating from high school to not have received their materials. And so, looking for an online program, I'm sure that Kyle came across their stuff and decided, hey, why not? But at any rate, Kyle had a hard time staying focused on his classes because he was up for murder. And so he dropped his courses, and we'll see how everybody responds.
Javier and Yetta, Kyle Rittenhouse is no longer enrolled in classes at Arizona State. But for several student organizations here, the fight to not be associated with Rittenhouse isn't over. A previously planned rally for Wednesday, it's still scheduled to be happening.
Days after the ASU Students for Socialism group and a few others planned a rally on campus against Rittenhouse taking classes at ASU, an ASU spokesperson confirming Rittenhouse is currently not continuing his non-degree seeking studies.
Let's go back and take a look at the signs. They're a hoot. All right, here we go. George Floyd used a fake $20. The dollar sign goes in front of the number, Arizona State students. What can you say? And was murdered by police. Kyle Rittenhouse killed 2 people and walks free as an ASU student. Right, because Kyle Rittenhouse's trial has nothing to do with George Floyd's. Nurses save lives, not take them. You're supposed to put a comma after lives. Joseph Rosenbaum, Anthony Huber, Gage Grosskreutz give their sacrifices the justice they deserve. Kyle already did that. My favorite here. Cynthia Brown killed her rapist and served 15 years. It's not Cynthia Brown, it's Centoya Brown. If you're going to have a martyr, at least know their names. Arizona State, what can you say? I'm sorry, Arizona State, I didn't mean to insult all of you. It's not your fault that you have a bunch of nut jobs on campus.
And the groups involved in the rally think their public push on social media helped make that happen.
It doesn't really seem like a coincidence to me that that would blow up on Fox News and New York Post, and suddenly he just, leaves his classes without really any explanation.
Okay, listen, dingbat. He had quit going to classes well before the Fox News interview. Did you see him doing homework while he was on trial? Did you see him pull out his algebra books and working on that while he was in the courtroom? No way was he going to be able to concentrate on completing his coursework while he's up for murder and facing a life sentence. But you wouldn't understand that. Arizona State, what can you say? And so she says, well, it's just some coincidence that he dropped his classes right after we started protesting. No, that's not what happened. Now keep in mind also that academic calendars typically don't allow students to drop classes this late in the semester.
But without any assurances that Rittenhouse will remain separated from the university, the rally is still on for Wednesday.
Students don't feel safe with the prospect of even having someone like Kyle Rittenhouse here at ASU.
The student...
Right, because Kyle is just going to pull out a gun and start shooting everybody. No one believes that. I'll show you why here in a little bit.
Groups participating in the rally created a list of demands for ASU leaders, including that ASU releases a statement against white supremacy and acknowledges that Rittenhouse is, quote, a racist murderer, end quote.
This is typical student idiocy. Yeah, they're asking Arizona State to issue a statement claiming that he is a white supremacist murderer. Gee, I wonder if that would get them sued. It's one thing to do that during the trial, before the verdict, okay? You might get away with that. But after the verdict, a state agency issuing a statement that he is actually a murderer is lawsuit city.
Local attorney Dwayne Cates is not connected to the school or the groups involved with the rally. We asked his legal opinion about what those groups wanted from ASU as it relates to Rittenhouse.
If they went through with the rest of the demands and called him a white supremacist and all these other things, they would be setting themselves up for a libel slander suit, which he's already got a lawyer, and there's already a lot of people going to be sued over this. And I don't think ASU wants to get in line.
That girl that was on here before probably doesn't understand what libel and slander means, but I have to explain that. But ultimately, let me dumb this down for all those students that want the university to label publicly Kyle Rittenhouse a white supremacist. Okay, if they do, Kyle will go to court and Arizona State would have to give him lots of money. Now, do you understand that? Of course, it's not their money, although it does come from them. They'll never understand that part of it, so they probably don't care.
Those rallying also not confident their demands will be met, if nothing else, because of what's happened in past rallies.
You know, they could make the decision last minute. They could make some sort of middle ground decision. Ultimately, we want the demands to be met fully, but we don't think that they'll, pursue them as seriously as we think that they should.
Yeah, they have lawyers. And by the way, Arizona State, being a state agency, can't just do whatever you want them to do. This is one of those change.org kind of crap when you go and read them and you think, where in the hell were they when they taught civics?
There are still a lot of unanswered questions surrounding Rittenhouse not being enrolled in classes at ASU, in large part because Rittenhouse hasn't released any public statement about it. There's also the question of if he could re-enroll at ASU at a later date. I asked that question to an ASU spokesperson. He has not gotten back to me. Of course, we will keep you updated on this developing situation. For now,
he can't get back to you. You're asking him a question that would violate privacy rules that are well established in this country. You can't ask a university spokesman to say, well, if he does apply, we won't take him. Okay, so Arizona State University students protest killer Kyle Rittenhouse as possible student. Students at Arizona State University angrily chanted, "Killer Kyle off our campus," as they marched through school grounds, protesting the possibility Kyle Rittenhouse could attend classes there. Kyle, you don't need to go to Arizona State University. You got suckered by their marketing campaign. It's not a great university, okay? I'm not saying it's a bad one, but there's nothing special about Arizona State. I am marching because Killer Kyle should not be going to this campus. That is white supremacy at its peak, and it does not belong at Arizona State. One student, who did not identify himself to Fox News, led the ASU crowd in lock him up chants. Oh, this is good. Now remember, these are college students. These are students of institutes of higher education. Here's the quote. "The American justice system does not acquit plurality." What the hell does that mean? Does not acquit plurality. Okay. They are not, who's they? They are not the objective morality in America. Objective morality. They are founded on genocide, slavery. Their morality is based on white supremacy. So the American justice system does not work for people outside of that umbrella. What about George Floyd? Wasn't the officer convicted? What about Ahmaud Arbery? Weren't all three people convicted? Our rally tonight was a complete success. ASU heard our demands, and we showed those fascist counter-protesters. So going in there and saying, hey, come on, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, and he deserves a chance to go to Arizona State, makes you a fascist. The people that came out tonight to support killer Kyle Rittenhouse prove our argument. Okay, here's the argument. that if Rittenhouse is allowed on campus, he will be followed by countless racist, homophobic bigots. I thought this was a safety thing. I thought the reason why you didn't want Kyle on campus was because he killed people. Now you may be saying, oh, wait a minute here now. That's not the thing at all. It's about what he did. Terrible person did something like that and allow him to enroll in a college? Oh my God. You can't let people who have been acquitted of murder enroll on campus. Well, I want you to meet Michelle Jones. She murdered her 4-year-old son back in 1992 or something like that, and it was a particularly bad one. Evidently, she basically tortured that kid practically from birth and then locked him in a room. It must have been a very, very long time because the next time she went into the room, he was dead. Oh, by the way, they never found the body. She just took him out in the woods and buried him. Never told anybody where he was. So her 4-year-old son is laying out there somewhere, and she was sentenced to 50 years in prison. She served 20 and then enrolled in the graduate department at New York University. That's right. She's in graduate school working on a PhD at New York University. And guess what? I don't have necessarily a problem with that. I just want to note the hypocrisy here. She was convicted. She admits she did it. Kyle was acquitted. And these students don't want him to be able to enroll as an undergraduate. Oh, and by the way, this is an interesting story because it really shows the hypocrisy of our college system. So I'll skip down here. New York University was one of several top schools that recruited her for their doctoral program. So a lot of schools were recruiting her. She was also among 18 selected from more than 300 applicants to Harvard. But in a rare override of a department's authority to choose its graduate students, Harvard's top brass overturned Ms. Jones' admission after some professors raised concerns that she played down her crime in the application process. Now, keep in mind, you might be thinking, well, that's good. Harvard University is showing that they have a strong commitment toward ensuring that only those of the best character get to enroll in their program. And not quite. Hang on. While top Harvard officials typically rubber stamp departmental admissions decisions, in this case, the university's leadership, including the president, provost, and deans of the graduate school, reversed one, according to the emails and interviews, out of a concern that her background would cause a backlash among rejected applicants, conservative news outlets, or parents of students. How would you like to be an applicant, get rejected so that they can make room for her, but you never killed anybody? Okay? So I can understand how a rejected applicant could be pretty sore about this. But keep in mind, their concern was the backlash. It wasn't doing the right thing. We didn't have some preconceived idea about crucifying Michelle. So they're concerned that people think that they're out to crucify her. But frankly, we knew that anyone could just punch her crime into Google, and Fox News would probably say that PC liberal Harvard gave $200,000 of funding to a child murderer who also happened to be a minority. I mean, come on. In other words, this was all about appearances. This had nothing to do with making the right decision at all. Their concern was that people would find out easily. But the hypocrisy doesn't end there. Here's another article from Edweek. It's happening again. A high-profile college accepts a student and then withdraws its offer of admission because it learns the student has done, well, bad stuff. Oh my God, a student has done some bad stuff when they were a kid. We can't have them in our college. You probably heard about the most recent case. Harvard College rescinded its admission offer to Kyle Kashuv, a Parkland school shooting survivor and guns rights activist, after learning he had used racial slurs in a Google document 2 years prior. And in 2017, Harvard revoked 10 students' admissions offers because they'd used offensive memes in a private Facebook group. So in other words, killing your kid, and let's not forget, this was not just a normal killing. She tortured this kid, right? Also, she never told them where the body was. Okay. Doing that, well, that's no big deal. But if you put something on social media that's, let's say, untoward, well, we can't have you on campus. So, yeah, I mean, look, I have my views on this. Kyle, you don't need to go to Arizona State University. You got suckered by their marketing campaign. It is probably not the best university for you. The only good thing about it is that it's far from Kenosha and it's in a relatively conservative state. You should probably go to a university here in Oklahoma. Contact me. We'll talk about it. The other one is that these students can't even get their messages straight. At times they're talking about safety, but we all know that they're not scared of Kyle. If he shows up on campus, they would be gathering around him and heckling him. And the other one is that they're concerned about appearances about his white supremacy and such, but they had no trouble, but they would have no trouble with Michelle Jones becoming a graduate student at New York University. It's hypocrisy. It's everywhere. And then you may be wondering, well, am I a hypocrite? No. I have no problem with Michelle Jones getting into a doctoral program at New York University if she truly deserved it. My problem would be is if they gave it to her because she killed her kid. Now you may be wondering, well, that's crazy. And it's not crazy. Like my video, subscribe to my channel.